Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Royals Rundown Podcast presented by Royals Review. If you want to keep up to date on all things Kansas City Royals, go visit royalsreview.com. Plus, you can go read all of Jeremy's ridiculous articles over there because they're great, entertaining, and, like I said, ridiculous. I.e., you are never going to live down the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 review. Right when we started doing this podcast.
Who shouldn't live that down?
Who?
Is the Royals for being so bad that I couldn't think of another thing to write about. The 2023 Royals, I should specify. The 2024 Royals are a different beast.
That they are. And just since they are a bigger beast, we have to extend the crew out a little bit tonight. We are joined by Lux of the Royal Deluxe podcast. How are we feeling tonight, man?
I wish I could say, oh, man, it's so great to see you all once again. I mean, it is great to see you all again.
Wow.
And great to be here again. It's just that I've been, extremely sick for the last couple of days. I've been working for 10 years. I've called in one time before as a COVID precaution, because back then that was kind of the right thing to do. But then on Monday, I'm like, I can barely move. I'm not working tonight. So that was the first real call into work. That's how sick I got. And to this day, I've been coughing so much that I have a headache now. So that's been,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Happens. I'm just going to chew on these little glass-looking candies that the doctor said I probably shouldn't have too much of, but what do they know?
Okay, then. Listen, we're having a good time. We're popping pills over here for
sickness. We're all about self-medication on this podcast.
Yes, we are. We
this
support.
This is not medical advice.
No,
this podcast does not offer medical advice or financial advice.
Yes. No financial advice on the podcast. No medical advice on the podcast. No career advice on the podcast either. I don't know where we're gonna go next after that, but I have to set.
This is the worst advice podcast of all time.
Yes, correct. Which is why we only talk about the Royals, right? Exclusively. That's all we talk about on this podcast.
Hey, good advice would be
give them advice.
Good advice would be watching the Royals because they're a good baseball team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you've been living under a rock, the Kansas City Royals are actually pretty good again. It's amazing.
My favorite thing is that on Royals Review for the past several years, it's been a question of when, not if. Every single person is going to write, you don't have to watch the Royals to be a real Royals fan article, because just at some point they're so bad, it's just not worth spending your time on. But this year, Matthew Lamar and I have both already written articles saying, no, you should probably be watching this team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, or even just listen to it. I thought it was cool that Jake Eisenberg was on the TV broadcast today, but I was a little jealous that he wasn't on the audio feed, because I do love me some Jake Eisenberg. But as we are recording this, the Royals are warming up for the second game of the doubleheader tonight against the Chicago White Sox. Looking at the standings, man, the Royals are currently sitting at 12-6, a half game back in the AL Central top spot. But if they win tonight, they not only get the series sweep, but they are the first MLB team to 13 wins this year. Jeremy, I was kind of shocked too. What do you think about that?
Wow. I knew they were good, but I did not realize they were that good.
What about you, Lux?
I didn't know that either. It is worth mentioning that the Guardians also play tonight, and who knows how that will go. They're at 12 wins as well. This is also a tough race for the best run differential in baseball. Right now, the Royals still have that by 3 runs.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah, so there's a lot at stake there's a lot at stake for both of these games.
That there is, as we're already scoreboard watching less than 20 games into the season.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than what we're usually doing 20 games into the season, which is figuring out who we're going to trade at the deadline.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. We can also do that, but we're figuring out who to add to our roster as opposed to subtract.
Yeah. Which, hey, speaking of additions, Jeremy, I'm just dropping little tidbits. You had another tidbit that you wanted to drop about roster additions.
Yeah, so the Royals are the only team so far this year not to make a roster move. Nobody has gone since the season started. Nobody has gotten hurt, other than Salvi, who he was back on the lineup today and hit a game-winning home run. Just we were talking Sunday. Oh no, what if he's out for a while? He's been pretty good. What are we going to do? How are they going to Austin Hola's hurt. They don't even have a third catcher. What are they going to Oh, he's back. and he hit a home run.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, we should have known probably, but that's the worst injury the Royals have suffered this year. So to my mind, that's really cool, but also it does scare me a little bit because, again, the depth of this team is not amazing outside of relievers. I feel like they've got a bunch of pretty good relievers down. And part of the having not made a roster move yet this year is that the starting pitching has been carrying the load so well that the bullpen has not been overworked. They haven't had to swap guys around to keep fresh arms in. But I'm a little concerned about what could happen when the injuries do come and if they might all come at once. That would be really unfortunate for this team's future.
Lux, do you think that we're just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop? Because I'm kind of in the same boat with Jeremy. Like, we know the injuries are going to come. They're coming hard and heavy for several MLB teams out there right now. There's the White Sox are a good example. The Twins are a good example. Even the Guardians are. Do you think we're going to get hit with the injury bug here in a little bit, or is this going to be like 2015 where they get a little lucky?
I mean, you can never really predict luck, so I guess that just speaks for itself. Yeah, pitching injuries, they come.
Is that not on Baseball Savant, Lux? Isn't luck in the 99th percentile right now?
I would like to make that a thing. Would absolutely love to. But pitching injuries, they come for all of us or all of our teams at some point. So, I mean, who can say when it is or isn't going to happen? I don't know. I don't know when the last time a team even had like 4 pitchers pitch more than 150 innings in a given season. That feels like such a rare thing to even have like 2 pitchers do that on a team nowadays. So, yeah. Although I'm honestly not entirely too worried about the pitching depth because I do feel like we actually do have a lot of depth for both starting pitchers and relievers. Granted, it might not be like amazing depth. Like, obviously, no one's going to replace Cole Reagans if he goes down.
Yeah.
Even like Brady Singer with the way he's pitching. I mean, he didn't pitch well today, frankly, but they're like
2 runs, 6 innings isn't well.
I mean, against the White Sox, I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll give you that. Basically, what I'm saying is that
control was a little erratic tonight.
I immediately respond to that because I was sitting there as we were going into the 8th inning, I think is when Salvador hit the home run, thinking to myself, people are going to say that Brady Singer pitched poorly today and that's why they lost. But if they lose 2-1, it's because they didn't score runs.
Yeah, that's not Brady Singer's fault.
No.
I'll give you that. Basically, I think the Royals have lots of options for like a number 5 guy in the rotation. Like, they can call up Veniciano. They can even, and I know some people are going to hate this, but they can bring back Jordan Lyles in the rotation as a fill-in. Like, they have depth there, but obviously they don't have a lot of guys to, fill out the top if something goes bad there. The position player depth is a lot more thin, but I don't know if this is just luck or not, but I feel like the Royals have avoided injuries to their position players for the most part over the last couple of years. Like, the only big one that I can really think of is Vinny going down with that shoulder injury.
Yeah.
So they're good there.
Well, on the same track, I do want to talk about Maikel Garcia. Jeremy, I told you before we started recording the podcast that you had the wheel. No, I'm yanking this right back. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I knew that wasn't going to last.
I do apologize.
You're fine. I knew what kind of control freak you were when I got into this relationship.
We all have our flaws, Jeremy, okay? And when it comes to this podcast, I have to have complete and total control. All right?
Until I decide chaos rules.
Yes, and then I just let you have at it for the most part. That's why we have to have disclaimers, i.e. investment advice, medical advice, and career advice. We have to have those disclaimers now.
Here's another disclaimer for you. Brady Singer pitched 5 innings today, not 6. I can't count.
This
is not counting advice either.
So no mathematical advice. Got it. So listen, like we said, Maikel Garcia is the most notable injured player, the most notable Royals player on the IL right now, and he's looking just fine down in his rehab assignment in AAA Omaha. Just Tuesday night, he went 2 for 5 with a long home run. In 6 games with the Storm Chasers, he's batting .407 with 6 extra base hits, 8 RBIs, and a 1.152 OPS, and just 2 strikeouts. Like he is looking just fine, and plus he's played all 9 innings at second base in the last 4 games there. So he's looking good at the plate. He's looking okay in the field. Now, the real tough decision is, what are the Royals going to do when he's ready to come back? Jeremy, I would like you. Hold on. Lux is raising his hand. What you got, man?
I have a solution, which has been my solution to everything since like February. Cut Garrett Hampson. Can we just do that, please? Why is he here? What does he even do? He got sent in today as a pinch runner. Yeah, he runs fast until he gets picked off at first base, which is what happened today as a pinch runner.
That was tough. That was really tough.
When you're an aggressive running team like the Royals, you're going to get picked off sometimes. Bobby Witt's been picked off. I don't think Blanco's been picked off this year, but he was picked off last year. It happens.
I have been wondering.
I'm not going to hold it against him too hard, though. Boy, it would have been nice to have him on when Hunter Renfroe went deep.
That's someone I believe in. I have been wondering if the Royals have some kind of tell, especially Bobby, if he has like a tell on the base pass, because it does seem like pitchers really know when to go after him. Although, granted, they're also very aggressive with him on the base pass. Anyway. I mean, like they know he's going to steal.
The tell might be Bobby Witt Jr. is on base. It might be the tell.
Well, and also, like I said earlier, I was listening to today's game 1 of the doubleheader, and Ryan made it sound like Garrett Hampson was being overly aggressive over there at first base. I can't say that with my own eyes, but that is how it sounded. So, and I get it, he's fast, but he's not Bobby Witt Jr. fast. He's not going to get back to first base 100% of the time.
He's actually pretty close to Bobby Witt Jr.
He's like 90%
by the meters per second measurements.
I'm an American, okay? All right. What is the miles per hour, Jeremy? Do that conversion for me. without mathematical advice. Okay.
It's 7,000 miles per hour, as it turns out.
Whoa, wow, that is crazy.
Why is he playing baseball? He should be in NASCAR. He chose the wrong sport.
He can't turn left.
Well, I was about to say, going first to second, you only need to turn right. So he got picked off because he can't turn left? ? All right, so we're starting the conspiracy theory right here. Garrett Hampson is a NASCAR car. Okay, that's it. Yeah. That's what we're going with for today.
And Zoolander.
And
there's a deep cut for you.
That is the deep cut. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. Back to topic. Goodness, chaos reigned supreme already early on in the episode.
I mean, that's why you brought me in here, isn't it?
So I don't 20 games in on a winning squad, I would not expect the Royals to cut a player. I get it. I completely understand the calls to cut Hampson and cut Frazier, because those were the most quizzical position player acquisitions this offseason. Now, Frazier is redeeming himself a little bit. Hampson is not, in my eyes, so I can understand why we would want to move on.
He's going to get 6 hits in the second half of the doubleheader.
Yeah.
Well, he'll do what Maikel Garcia can't do then, I guess.
Ooh.
Truthfully, is the only way to get Massey back on the roster to send down Nick Lofton? Is that the only path forward you're seeing, Luck?
Probably, but I just don't feel like that's entirely fair to Lofton, because I don't think he's been given many opportunities on this roster.
I don't think he has either. Well, what do you think, Jeremy?
You have 2 options. You have Lofton and you have Blanco. The problem is that Blanco is also fast.
Yeah.
And he was, I don't think he is anymore, but I checked at one point and he was 6th in MLB with 5 stolen bases, despite having 1 plate appearance. So, that whole pinch running gig was working out for him pretty well. The other thing is, if you believe in Nick Lofton, and I made this argument during the offseason a couple of times, if you believe in Nick Lofton, you should want him to get demoted, because if they demote him, that's an opportunity to play every day, which is not going to happen for Hampson and Frazier once Massey comes back, and is currently not happening for Lofton.
Yeah, that's a good point. Jeremy, I do want to say this before we move on from Dairon Blanco. He currently has 5 stolen bases, which is tied for 4th in MLB right now with his limited.
How can he be tied for 4th when he was tied for 6th before with 5 stolen bases?
There are 10 guys or so with 5 or more stolen bases, so it depends on how you look at it.
According to today's stat pack, there's 2 batters tied in 4th place with 5 stolen bases, and there's 3 guys. Excuse me. You know what, Jeremy? Now I see what I'm doing wrong. I'm looking at the American League. Looking at the American League stats only, not just MLB. That's my bad.
Yeah, he's high either way, but
yeah, still high with not a whole lot of work at the plate normally.
I do want to make.
Go ahead.
Oh, I want to make a defense against a defense for Adam Frazier. By the way,
please do.
Adam Frazier. This is fascinating to me, and I don't know what this means or how long it's going to last, but he has a career walk rate of 7.4%, at least going into this season. Right now, his walk rate in 2024 with the Kansas City Royals is 19, which is like Juan Soto territory. I don't think that's going to last because Adam Frazier's not a guy who can threaten you with power or anything if you choose to pitch around him or anything, but it is worth mentioning. Like, he gets on base, and he did get a hit or a walk in the first game today. So
that he did. He also had an RBI. He's the one who scored Nelson Velasquez, which I will give Adam Frazier all the grief in the world. But when you look at his performance with runners in scoring position, he's done fairly well.
Yeah.
He has. I saw that eyebrow raise, Jeremy.
My thing is, I've just pulled up Adam Frazier's stats since we're talking about him. He has walked more than he struck out this year, and he's walking a lot. But he does not have a single extra base hit.
That's the funny thing about him.
Not really sustainable as a starter. And I'm pulling up and at one point I know we were talking about when he had runners in scoring position, he was not hitting, but you're right. He's batting 300 with runners in scoring position now. Let's see. There it is. He has, there it is. 123 WRC plus. If he's got men on base, he's actually a very good hitter. If there's nobody on base, he sucks. So keeping him low in the lineup so guys are on base in front of him works, I guess.
Just we got to steal Rex Hudler's mindset, Jeremy. Okay, it's all about situational hitting.
I love Rex. I don't want to do that. Please don't make me do that. The planet is a moon. The moon is a planet. What? The planet is the moon. I see what you've done to me.
What are you doing, Hud?
Yeah, Frazier, he walked and got a single today. So all I'm saying is, at least for now, I have no complaints about Adam Frazier on this roster.
And that's absolutely fair. I think the walk rate is really helping. Jeremy, I am with you though. I think the walk rate and complete lack of power right now is not going to last very long. So I mean, he might be a player come early June that we're talking about. Okay, what are the Royals gonna do with him? But I think as long as Michael Massey's on the squad, like, we're not going to be talking about Adam Frazier too often because hopefully by then he's not going to be getting a lot of play.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that we're arguing about basically the 26th roster spot, which is a roster spot that existed 5 years ago.
True.
So this is where all of our roster drama is. We're doing okay. We'll be okay.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't really. They could roster if they put him in the 26th man spot. They could put Chris Owings on there, and it wouldn't wreck the team.
You take that back right now, Jeremy. Take it back.
All right, fine. Yuniesky Betancourt.
No, it's not better.
Who just got arrested for tag something or other? I was
gonna say, I'm like, does he know?
Or Alcides Escobar, who I'm learning more and more about every day of how bad he was at the plate. I was completely oblivious to it I was like, the Royals are winning, and Escobar is the starting shortstop. He has to be good, right? No. No, he's not.
I mean, we won the World Series.
I'm reading a 2015 book from Keith Law, and he's talking about how bad Escobar is at the plate.
Which is actually, if you think about it, an argument for why it's okay that the Royals don't have a leadoff hitter right now.
Exactly.
Maikel Garcia is really struggling, and Garrett Hampson is doing it here in the second half of the doubleheader because they literally don't have anyone else to even try to put there. Yeah, so Alcides Escobar was leading off for one of the best Royals teams that's ever played, and he was not good outside of the ALC and outside of the help of the guy in center field for the Mets whose name Yoenis Cespedes without his help. So like, and that team won 95 games in the regular season. So it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Even Ned Yost was confused about it. He's like, you know what? It shouldn't work, but for some reason the team wins when he leads off. I don't know why either.
Even Ned Yost was like, okay, we can't keep doing this. I'm going to demote him in the lineup. And then the team started losing, and he's like, okay, geez.
Calm down. I'll put him back at the top. Jeez, guys. So I am going to be curious to see how this leadoff stuff goes because I have seen somewhere in the Royals social media space that, when Massey's back, they need to demote Maikel Garcia and just start Nick Lofton at third base. And I don't think that's going to help anything.
Nick Lofton called out on strikes in his first at bat of the second half of the doubleheader.
Whoop-de-frickin'
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it does.
At least, here's the thing about Maikel Garcia. Y'all, they have played 17 baseball games.
And 18 baseball games.
Huh?
18 baseball games.
They played 18? However many baseball games they've played not very many. This is what we in the business call a small sample size. Vinny Pasquantino was never going to be good again a week ago. Now he's already turned everything around to become one of the best hitters in baseball in a week. Like, and that's for the whole season, by the way. He's got his WRC plus up into the 120s for the whole season after how hot he's been for the last week. So you look at his peripherals, Garcia's still hitting the ball hard. He's hitting it in the air more, which is what we asked from him. He's still fast. Yep. He's still a good defender at third. Let's maybe give it another week or two before we try to set him on fire.
It just sucks. It just sucks that it's been like I think he's like 0 for 23.
Yeah.
At this point in his last, it's bad. It really is. It just sucks.
It does suck. And seeing him come up however many times a game, he comes up more than anybody else in front of Bobby Witt Jr., who has not stopped being hot at any point. Yeah, I get it. He looks very bad in comparison. But you got to give a guy a chance to come out of a slump.
Yeah, that's true. Lux, what do you think about it? Are you going to ride with Garcia or do you want the bench to have him for a little bit?
No, absolutely. Garcia I think he should just stay where he is. Just keep it going. Especially because, it's almost like the Ned Yost logic again. We're winning, so don't fix it. Don't mess with the team dynamic and all that.
Fair. Which, Jeremy, let's talk about that Vinny Pasquantino quote while we're talking about team dynamic, because this is I don't know if we need to call this the team dynamic or just the Kansas City Royals a dynamic team. Okay, because when the boys are hot, they know it, and they're owning that. And I absolutely love it. But you pointed out what Vinny said the other night as like, hey, we are legit, right?
Yes. I'm trying to pull up the exact quote now, but my browser is being very slow. So give me just a second.
We hate that. We absolutely hate that.
And I think I clicked the wrong link.
Vinny's in the lineup right now, right?
Yes. He is starting at first and batting third.
Sorry, hold on 1 second. Annie Rogers just tweeted Salvador Perez walked. That's it.
I mean, it doesn't happen very often. You gotta give a guy
this
credit.
This is cause for alarm.
Sorry. Oh my gosh. Yeah. When was the last time that happened?
I can't find the quote, but Vinny Pasquantino he got the interview. I believe it was Monday night in Chicago. Yeah. And after the game, and Joel Goldberg basically asked him, how do you guys feel about the bounce back? How do you bounce back so fast? And he was like, this isn't a bounce back. We're just good. Which A+ Vinny, this is why I don't want to trade him ever, because he's not just a good bat, he's a good personality on this team, and from all accounts, he's a good leader on this team, and has been from day one. So that's impressive stuff. But Vinny Pasquantino says, we're just good, and yes, they are just good. We were talking before the podcast. Before we hit record, basically, we were all three saying, we don't know what we want to talk about because the team is just good. Like, we're going to argue about the 26th man on the roster. We're going to argue about the back of the bullpen. The team is just good.
Yeah, they are. Lux, what do you think? Is that the right mindset that this team needs to have this early on in the season?
Yeah, absolutely. Just the competitiveness with this team it's been great. I mean, we saw the exact opposite of this last year where, they got off to a bad start and they just never recovered. And you could just see it. Everyone was down. Everyone was just like, well, I guess we suck. Dang. Unfortunate.
Might as well just get our paycheck and come out here every game and do our thing.
Yeah. And I mean, for the record, I don't want to say, I don't mean to imply that the boys are lazy or anything of the sort, like I don't really think a lot of guys in baseball are lazy, even, despite some rumors about some certain people, but it's don't speak ill of my goat like that. He's been hitting like 300 for the last week.
Yeah,
back,
we're just talking about leadoff hitters.
It shows that even the guys who don't care are trying very hard.
Exactly. Anyway, it's just not a healthy mindset to be in a negative place. It's and that's what losing does to you. It just I mean, look at the White Sox right now. Is that a team that looks like they're having any fun? That was the Royals last year.
Right. I think you can see the difference kind of in some of the body language where last year the Royals were waiting to see how they were going to lose. Like, oh yeah, we're up 5 runs. How are we going to lose?
Yeah.
We're going to find a way how. There was no doubt that they were going to lose. They knew they were going to lose. It was just a question of how were they going to do it this time. And right now, the White Sox are definitely the ones with that body language. As I was explaining to Jacob, because I did get to watch most of the afternoon game, when Salvador Perez hit his the home run that put them in the lead, Michael Kopech knew it immediately, and he threw his arms up in the air, and he's frustrated. And when Hunter Renfroe hit his home run, Kopech threw his arms up in the air again, and the catcher, it might have been, I think it was still Maldonado. He turned around in disgust, like, these are guys that are like, yeah, that happens, and we suck, and what are we going to do about it? So that's just kind of, and that's not the Royals anymore. Brady Singer gives up the home run, and okay, give him back the ball. Let's keep going. And that was one of the things I was really looking forward to in this offseason of additions, was raising the floor and making people believe they could win, making the team believe that they could win. Because as much as it's frustrating as analytics people, which I think we all are analytics people, at least to some degree.
We're believers.
We want to quantify everything, and you can't quantify how much the team believes in itself. How does that impact things? But this team clearly believes they can win games. They have not been blown out yet. The biggest score loss was a 6-1 loss to the Mets. That's it. Every other game has been close. This game today was another one. I think we keep bringing this up. It's another one that felt like they would have lost it last year. First of all, they would have given up more than 2 runs after the Brady Singer home run. He would have lost it, and he would not have been able to get back in control like he did today. And then nobody would really be trying in the later half because who cares? We're not going to be able to pull it off anyway. But this year, they're like, listen, he kept us in the game. The bullpen's not giving up any runs. Let's go and get those runs back. And Bobby Witt Jr. beats out an infield single, and then Vinny Pasquantino strikes out. But then Salvador Perez hits a no-doubt home run, and you're back in the lead. It's just amazing to. I think this is the first time I've really been able to feel the difference between what a bad team looks like and what a good team looks like as far as body language and behavior. These guys believe they can compete, and they are competing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Jeremy. And I do think the one reason why they're competing, I'm trying to think how to word this. Last year, when we were looking at who was competing, we were talking about individuals. We were talking about guys like Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez, guys who still had good body language on the field and in the dugout. Right now, it's looking like an organizational competitive mindset. And one way that I love that is the dugout huddles between the starting pitching. It seems like after every single start, when the starting pitching is finally, or starting pitcher that night is finally done, all five guys in the rotation are there and they're talking about the game afterwards. I absolutely love that. Kudos to Royals Daily on X for catching that snapshot after Seth Lugo's start against the White Sox on Monday. And you just see Cole Reagans, Brady Singer, Alec Marsh, Michael Walker. They're all just huddled up there and presumably talking about what went right, what went wrong, and how to go from here. Like Lux, we've talked in previous seasons about the veteran leadership, and I was a believer in, like, you know what, Zach Greinke, he's going to be a great veteran leader, but we didn't see it this blatantly before.
Yeah.
I think, like, are you liking it?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely my favorite thing about this team so far, and like the most defining characteristic, is that communication. And I don't think that what the starting pitchers are doing is exclusive to them. I think it's everyone on this roster. I think every component of this roster is a communicative unit, because we've seen lots of times where the lineup will get shut out first time through, first couple of innings, and then second time through, they start figuring pictures out and they start hitting. And I know that that's like a known thing, you know, like hitters get better when they see pitchers more, but I don't have the exact numbers for it. I didn't really like look into this. I just, based on what I've seen, I feel like it's really a thing with the Royals where second and third time through the lineup, they really know what's going on. And I think it's just because the hitters have great chemistry with each other and they're talking to each other a lot. I think, I mean, I don't remember where this was said, but I remember at some point someone was asked about like the team chemistry, and someone was like, everyone gets along with each other. Like all 26 guys on this roster, we're all friends. We all hang out. We're all cool with each other. There's no animosity here at all. And I do think it really goes a long way.
This is one reason I wanted Whit Merrifield gone a lot sooner than he was. Rex would always talk about, he's got a chip on his shoulder. That makes him play good. But I bet it didn't make him a great teammate. And so these guys, nobody seems to have a chip on their shoulder that I've seen. They all seem to be like, let's go out here. Let's win some games. Let's have some fun. Even Hunter Renfroe has been coming on lately. He didn't let the struggles get him down, and it didn't look like anybody was kind of giving him the cold shoulder. Everybody, I think that's really an excellent point that you were making, Lux, is that the lineup has to be kind of talking to each other and discussing what's happening with the pitcher to be able to turn things around as fast and as consistently as they've been doing. Because pitchers get pulled before they can face the lineup a third time, but the Royals are getting to them often in the second time through, like you said. And then it's been very consistent. I think we've seen in the past where the lineup just doesn't, especially last year with the Royals, it didn't matter how many times the lineup went, they weren't necessarily guaranteed to turn things around. But now it's happening on a regular basis. And again, it's a small sample size, but it's something to keep an eye on going forward.
Mm-hmm. That it is. Lux, do you have any more thoughts on that before we move on?
I will say we are talking about the lineup and being kind of positive about it. It is a little bit unfortunate that we've had this stretch of games where we're only facing like rookie pitchers making their MLB debuts. It's like we are facing Eric Fetty, who is, he's sort of not a rookie pitcher. He's still relatively unknown in the league. It's like it would be nice to face some like normal pitchers that have experience in the game.
Sean Manaea
recently.
They wrecked him.
We did. We did pretty good against Manaea. It's like these completely random guys no one has ever heard of are the guys that are giving us the most grief, which I will say, don't worry about that too much. I do think it might be a scouting issue. Maybe that should be addressed by the organization, but it happens.
I will also credit Jack Johnson over at Locked On Royals with talking about this on social media earlier on. It's a trend with guys who are either making their MLB debut or first, like one of their first starts of the season. It's we talk about guys like Sean Manaea or Bailey Ober, these guys who have been in Major League Baseball for a good amount of time. and we have a large sample size, not the small sample size Jeremy's talking about. We have large sample sizes of those pitchers, and so I think advanced scouting is doing a great job in that fashion. But when you're looking at advanced scouting, you're just looking at the MLB level stuff. So I do think that it's something that needs to be watched and addressed moving forward. I hope it is as the season goes along, because this is not going to be the first time that the Royals face a pitcher who's making his first or second start at the MLB level. They're going to have to go back to that AAA footage and look and see. And plus, we have, like, now it's publicly available, but those advanced scouting departments have all that data that we normally do through Baseball Savant. At least that's how we access it. But teams have all that stuff. So I don't know where the issue lies personally. I would love to hear insight on that, but I don't have any, honestly.
It's also easy to forget that this is a regular thing for, newbie pitchers, because the Royals haven't really been on the receiving end of that. Their new pitchers like Alec Marsh, Dana Lynch, Jackson Kowar, et cetera, they've gotten blown up in their early starts. That's because our pitching coaching has sucked, unfortunately.
Cal Eldred.
I'm a full believer in their pitching coaches now, though. I got to tell you,
yeah,
Brian Sweeney, Zach Bove, everybody over there is kicking butt. Not just with Cole Reagans and James MacArthur, but I mean, Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha, I think we all expected them to be good, but not this good. And Brady Singer looks better this year now that he had a full spring training and a full off season to work with them. Alec Marsh looks better this year too, honestly. And also, again, I'm going to keep doing this because I feel like manager Matt Quatraro is not getting enough credit for how well I think he's managing this team. The bullpen usage has been on point. Will Smith blew a couple games early on because he gave the closer's role to Will Smith without really much of a competition, but he fixed that within a week. I mean, that's fast. So
it is.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it is. And it's just, I think we talked about this on the last podcast episode. He's being decisive. And he is, I'm not going to say, he's just trusting his gut. And he's just going with his baseball knowledge. No, maybe someone is coming to him and saying, look, like these are the numbers we got. This is what we are seeing. And no matter how it's happening, you have to give credit to the Royals coaches. You have to give credit to Matt Quatraro for amending those issues rather than riding with Will Smith. Because I remember I had an article on Kings of Kaufman after I think it was Will Smith's first blown save. And they said, hey, we don't expect that from Will. We're going to keep riding with him. I was like, And then, I think it was 2 games later, he had another blown save. And that was kind of it. Short leash from there, short hook. And meanwhile, James MacArthur, the general, has just been marching on to 4 saves now after game 1 this afternoon. So I'm liking that, at least.
I think Q should also get credit for just keeping the team in a competitive mindset. I'm going to reach back to a far back series at this point, but I really appreciated what he was doing in the Baltimore series up in there. There was that game where we had like a 5-hour rain delay. It was the Reagans and Corbius game. And man, I'm surprised we lost that game because the Orioles themselves didn't look too into it. Meanwhile, our guys were constantly running out to the field in between innings. They were locked in. They scored early. They kept trying to score. They were onto it. And I think the very next game, the game before Alec Marsh pitched, I remember he got a really bad call. He threw a 2-2 pitch in the zone. Should have been a strike. Called it a ball, and obviously, nobody liked that. Q yelled at him in the dugout, and so what does Marsh do after that? He throws a pissed off strike 3 to end the inning. That's what a great manager does. He just keeps the guys in a competitive mindset. Just like, hey, you didn't do anything wrong. Just keep doing it. Ignore that guy. He's a jerk.
He really does seem, excuse me, to have avoided kind of the worst flaws that we saw with Ned Yost and with Mike Matheny, where Ned Yost would leave a situation for too long sometimes. And Mike Matheny, wanted to compete, but he wanted to do it. And I think I've talked about this before, but I think it bears repeating. He wanted to do it by putting more pressure on everybody, whereas Matt Quatraro is like, I'm not going to put more pressure on you. I'm just going to put you in a position to succeed. And I think that's way more effective, much more new school than old school. And I like it a lot. I'm very happy with Matt Quatraro as a manager.
Agreed. And I think it would be. I hope that most of the Royals fan base is in the same position. I hope that they're recognizing the value that Quatraro brings into the dugout, and it seems like he has the clubhouse under control. It really does. It seems like everyone's on the same page. They are there to win games. And I think the Royals are going to be talked about series sweep on the road, and they head back to Kauffman Stadium to host the Baltimore Orioles with Jackson Holliday and Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman, all those names, the darlings of prospect evaluators out there. And we'll see what happens. Lux, what are you reacting to over there?
Just a absolutely beautiful Maikel Wacha changeup to strike out Robbie Grossman.
So
my
much.
God.
I had no idea how much I would fall in love with Maikel Wacha's changeup.
It's beautiful.
I will say so on the pregame show today on the radio, they had Dr. Mack, who's their director of R&D for the Royals, and he specifically talked about Maikel Wacha's changeup, and like that's why they went out and got him, and we all see why, because it is absolutely disgusting. It really is. Go out and buy that Maikel Wacha jersey, because I think he's going to pick up those options and stay in Kansas City for a little while longer. I do.
Okay, first of all, it's only one option.
Oh, I thought he had two.
No, he has one option for next year.
My bad.
Also, if he pitches like this the rest of the year, he ain't picking it up. He's gonna get
He's
paid.
not picking up the option.
I hope he doesn't.
The only reason a player would not pick up his option is if he thinks that he's going to get more money by staying than by leaving. If Wacha's pitching like this at the end of the year, he's going to get more money leaving. So yeah, he'll do it.
You know what? You're absolutely right. Sorry, I had a lapse there. I had a big.
And now, if it was
there.
a team option, they're picking that up. No doubt, they'd pick it up today. But unfortunately, it is a player option.
Yeah. All right, guys. Listen, that's all I got on the slate for Royal stuff. Anything that we need to touch on or talk about before we get to our Spotify Q&As?
I want to defend Garrett Hampson just a little bit once again and say that as the 26th man on the roster, speed and flexibility, positional flexibility are valuable. Just say that again. I will say that every time we bring him up.
All right.
That's fair. Just please don't put him lead off ever again.
No, yeah, I'm not a fan of the Garrett Hampson leadoff show with 2 strikeouts now. Not a fan of that at all. But here we are. And away we go. No, guys, let's go ahead and get to the Q&As tonight so we can get back to watching the game. How's that sound? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm not going to do the recap because with the doubleheader and with the delayed game, the Royals recaps are kind of thrown off a rhythm right now. I ain't going to lie to y'all. So I did ask on the recap poll the other night, like, can we say Vinny is back? This was after his first game against the White Sox, and 100% of responders said yes. We can say he is back. I love that. On our last full-length episode, which I was mean to Maikel Garcia, and I titled the episode Royals and Maikel Garcia Stumble in the Big Apple, but he's still stumbling in the South Side. Don't you worry about it. I asked our listeners, how are you feeling after the New York Mets series? Ginger620 says it wasn't as good as it was in 2015. It's disappointing that we lost, but we still had both the expectation and opportunity to win the series, which is a step up from last year, which, Jeremy, you've talked about almost every single episode. This team is competitive, at least, and that's what we were asking for in the offseason. We talked about this a little earlier on, but Royal Rupert said, I am worried that Maikel may need some time in Omaha to reset his game. Luke57 says, it wasn't the best series, but it didn't change my opinion of how they're doing. It's going to be a fun season. Couldn't agree more. Corey Michael says, worried about Salvi, same as it ever was. Well, Salvi he's rebounded just nicely after that groin strain, I will say. The old spring chicken there. Nash fan Sam says it's kind of a mixed bag. At least Sunday's game, Cole was Cole. Christopher says, more disappointed than when I learned the moon wasn't a planet. Christopher always comes in the clutch with a good response. And then lastly, Mind the Mooses says, encouraged by the rebound game on Saturday. All teams will have some losses, but good teams are able to turn things around after a bad night and avoid the long losing streaks, which is what Kansas City has done so far this year, which is why it's exciting.
Yeah, they have yet to lose 2 in a row, right?
No, they lost the first 2.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the longest losing streak they've got. And most people would say it's not a streak until it's at least 3.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, those are the only 2 back-to-back losses that they've had, and they've had multiple winning streaks since then. So I believe in it's not a streak till it gets to 3, Jeremy. Yeah. What do you think, Lux? Do you count 2 games in a row as streak?
If it's a winning streak and it's the 2023 Royals, then yeah. Maybe if it's like an extreme outlier, like last year, how long it took us forever to win 2 games in a row. So it's like, okay, that's a streak when we finally got it.
We're like, woo, 2 games in a row. I'm not disappointed. 2 days in a row, baby. Let's go.
So I guess it's only fair that, we do count that opening series as a 2-game losing streak.
Yeah, fair enough.
I got one for you. I count it as a streak unless it ends there. So if you've won 2 games in a row, you're on a winning streak. But if you lose the next one, it wasn't a streak. It was just 2 games.
Oh,
okay.
Living in the moment.
Okay.
Is that what we call that? I like it. All right, guys, before we move on to our reviews, anything else we want to talk about? Last call.
I just want to say, stop complaining or making fun of the Royals for having low attendance when the freaking Mets couldn't fill their stadium on a weekend. Everyone's at low attendance right now. It's April.
Yeah, it's gonna happen, and it really is. Well, come talk to me once June and July roll around.
Yeah, if the team the team has also been bad. They have not been they've made it to 500 once. They haven't been over 500 in almost a decade. So give everybody a chance to figure out that this team is good and start buying some tickets.
Yeah. Like just because a team starts off 3-4 or something doesn't mean everybody's going to start packing the stadium. Like, whoa, when did playoff tickets go on sale?
And it's not like anyone was going to go out of their way to buy tickets to see the visiting Chicago White Sox.
Yeah.
Woof, freaking new.
So many former Royals favorites on that team.
We love Nicky Lopez, but not that much. He can keep his flow over in Chicago. Love it though.
Plus, half the people in this fan base probably are just like, well, they're gonna fall off eventually anyway. So what does it matter?
Yes, like I said, I wrote an article Saturday that was basically, hey, this team is actually good. You can watch if you want to. Like, you do not have to be afraid to get into this team. They're going to be fun to watch, at least for a while. Yeah. And I got a whole bunch of people saying, no, they're not. They just won a couple. They got lucky. I also had one person tell me that Matt Quatraro was awful, and he keeps pulling his starting pitchers too early. And I was like, the starting pitchers have the most innings out of any team in the league. What do you want? More innings!
If their UCL hasn't literally exploded mid-game, then they didn't pitch enough. Just walk it off. Pitchers these days are so freaking lazy and so wimpy.
Throw it with the other arm. Chris Bubich, the righty.
Oh boy.
Oh man. All right, we are falling off the rails here. Let's go ahead and get to our Royals reviews. How's that sound, guys?
All right, fine.
Jeremy, I would like you to go last.
Yeah.
To give you soapbox time.
I warned you soapbox time.
Yes, you did. Lux, do you have a review for us tonight?
Yeah. Speaking of off the rails, I'm going to talk about a Japanese anime. It just started. It only has 3 episodes. And full disclaimer, I have no idea where to legally watch it because I don't do any of that stuff. It's also in Japanese. I don't know if it's going to get an English dub. I'm sorry, I don't keep up with that stuff. But it is called Train to the End of the World. And I have no idea if it's the most Galaxy Brain 200 IQ anime I've ever seen or the most completely ridiculous and stupid thing I've ever seen. It's about, to make a long story short, some group of weirdos invented something called 7G. Yeah, you've heard of 4G, you've heard of 5G. Apparently 6G is already a thing, but now there's 7G, and they're getting ready to activate it. And they're like, yeah, this is going to change the world and technology forever. But the G's are just so powerful. They distort all of space and time and create all these massive ramifications across the entire globe. So now what's happened is that in this one town that the main characters live in, everybody over the age of 21 years and 3 months specifically have turned into animals. They still talk and act like people, but now they're animals. And so they're looking for...
Woo!
Yeah, exactly. Everyone has personas now. So they're looking for some kind of missing person. They had this friend who ran away from the town, and they suddenly get a clue that she's in Ikebukuro, which is a big town in Japan. So they try to go look for her by going there on this train that's in the town. And they have no idea what's outside of this town. They just kind of hear rumors of how the world has changed because of the 7G incident.
7G.
It's so stupid, but it's like, okay, sure. And so they're kind of going from place to place so far, and the way the world has changed around them is uniquely different from each location. So like the next town they arrive in, everybody in there has mushrooms growing out of their head, and it's changed their weird behavior to the point where they want to like live and act like mushrooms. They're just like, who cares about doing anything in the world? Who cares about having hopes and dreams and all that? Let's just all relax and bask in the clouds and then die within a year. That sounds like a great life. And so, yeah, that's what it's been like so far. If that made no sense whatsoever, then great. Then you kind of understand what it's like to watch this anime. I love it. It's so weird and bizarre and so like, it's so quirky, but it's also so well presented. It's funny. The animation's gorgeous. The sound design is really weird and awesome. It's just everything I love. I love experimental anime like this, and I don't feel like enough of them get made nowadays. So I'm really happy this exists, and that's why I'm going to share it. Even if nobody listening to this podcast is going to care.
I care. All right, it's on Crunchyroll. I already looked it up. It doesn't look like it's getting a dub anytime soon, but it is on Crunchyroll.
There you go.
Art was kind of giving me like oh gosh, what's the anime about going to the Antarctica, to the South Pole?
Oh, A Place Further Than the Universe.
Yeah, that's like, it was giving me those kind of vibes, but that description is not giving me those vibes at all.
I will say that's like my second or third favorite anime ever.
Oh, it's in my top 10 for sure.
Nice. Have you seen Shirobako?
No, I haven't even heard of it.
Oh, it's the anime about making anime.
Oh, I'll have to check that out too.
Oh, okay. Well, it's really cool. I was going to say, same writer and director is on this anime.
I'll add it to my list. Go, Jacob.
So I will go to the complete opposite end of the spectrum and talk about I feel bad calling it a reality show on Netflix, but that is what it is. It's called Unlocked: A Jail Experiment. The synopsis reads: at an Arkansas detention facility, a sheriff implements a radical social experiment to grant men who are incarcerated more agency in this reality series. Honey and I sat down and watched this, and all in all, it's a transient facility. They just focus on one unit, so it's not like they're doing this across the entire prison at once. Sheriff comes in and says, hey, we're going to shift from this schedule where you are locked in your cell 23 hours a day to you have the ability to come in and out of your cell as you please, but how you deal with is there going to be violence? Is there going to be contraband? Is there going to be stuff like that still going on? That all depends on them. Throughout the show, or as this progresses, the sheriff gives them more freedoms that make it a little more and how does that look? I think this was a decent snapshot into it. It's, as far as I can tell, this is real. This wasn't staged. There are some ripple effects of it that have been going on down in the local system. So I am curious to see what happens there. But for the time being, go check out Unlocked: A Jail Experiment on Netflix. It's a short docu-series. So, Jeremy, I can see that you are busy over there pulling up links, pulling up your
receipts. I
for your
wrote down
soapbox
somewhere
this
to watch
evening. What you got for
Shirobako.
us?
It's not available Does not appear to be available to stream legally, so I had to add it to a list separately.
I'm pretty sure that was a Funimation show. I wouldn't be surprised if it was one of those that just
So I have a Google Doc where I just keep track of all the anime that I cannot currently watch, cannot currently stream legally, so that I can buy the Blu-rays later. It's definitely what I'm going to do. So my recommendation this week is a newsletter that I just discovered yesterday afternoon called "Where's Your Ed At?" I do not know the name, but he had a newsletter titled "They're Looting the Internet," which I found very interesting in that it took some stuff that I've kind of been seeing and then tied it into some other stuff that I've been seeing in a way that I had not connected those dots before. So basically, I've been complaining for years to anyone who would listen that our capitalism, our version of capitalism, is completely broken right now in that the only goal is profit. You must constantly be profiting. You must make more money. You must be growing. There is no such thing as, well, I'm making a profit, so my business is successful. If your company is not bigger and more profitable this year than it was last year, you are about to go under. And that is just not sustainable. There's no such thing as infinite growth. This is not the ever expanding universe. So it's problematic for a lot of reasons. But they're looting the internet brings this up and points out that like the behemoths of the internet, Google, Facebook, Twitter, are also, not only are they falling into that, but they're not contributing anything. In fact, they're taking away. It discusses how Google, through its use of SEO and its use of AI and the hallucinations of AI, making Google search worse, to the point that Bing might be better than Google search now, which used to be like the hilarious joke of the early 2000s. Like, what do you mean you use Bing? That's stupid. So now apparently it might be better to use Bing because Google is prioritizing the advertisers and its AI to the point that you can't trust its search results anymore. And you have to find hacks to get around it. Facebook, Twitter, and Google do not create anything. These three behemoths of the internet are not creating anything. They just have made space on YouTube and on Facebook and all these social media sites for other people to create things, and then they take all the money from those people. I mean, we're kind of participating in that with Spotify, where Spotify isn't creating anything. We're creating something, and Spotify is taking our money or taking money from our work. Which should be our money. That's a whole different discussion that we don't need to get into right now. So it's a long read. I'll give Jacob the link, or I already have given Jacob the link to put in the show notes, but it's like a 20-minute read, but it is so interesting to understand like just how bad the internet is now. Like this, if you think the internet is getting worse, you're not imagining it. It is happening because these sites are seeking infinite growth, and you can't have it, so they're making stuff up to try and get it. It's just not good.
Whoa, that is
it is a little scary, Jacob. It is a little scary. We talk about the environment and like, oh, the environment is being destroyed, but also like everything else is also being destroyed all the time. It's all dying.
Isn't it cool how we used to use the internet to escape reality, and then it just got absorbed into that as well?
Super cool. My favorite.
Now I want to go be a mushroom.
Oh yeah, I do understand that a little bit better now. Like,
it all makes sense.
I will say at the end of that episode when those girls left the mushroom colony or whatever, they were just like, they were crazy, but they had some good points. I can see why they wanted to do that.
Yeah. So, hey, Jeremy thankfully sent me the link so I can read through that later on. But if you want to read through it, it will be down in the podcast description below. Lux, unfortunately, I cannot share a link to your review because I am concerned about where that link is.
Like I said, it's on Crunchyroll.
Okay, that's
I added it to my list on Crunchyroll.
Oh, okay. I missed that. I did miss that.
Find it too.
So I'll just link the show on Crunchyroll then.
That's where you just find it.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you for the reviews. Lux, thank you again for joining us tonight. I know it was a little bit of a was a thrown together episode, but I'm over here smiling the whole time. I think we had a great time.
One more thing I want to
Absolutely.
throw out there that I just remembered. Sports gambling, the same thing. It's not creating anything. It's not contributing any value. It's just taking your money. And it's the giant industry right now.
And giving it to someone else.
Sucks. I don't like it.
Yes, it is.
Oh, here
To
we go.
follow up on Jeremy's thoughts, what I caught, you should absolutely check out the Netflix documentary, The Social Dilemma. That's my
Ooh.
review.
Yes, The Social Dilemma was another really good award-winning documentary that we watched about social networking and the pitfalls of it. But we're going to go ahead and get out of here. If you folks want to follow us on social media, on those spaces that take money from advertisers simply because you're there, go check out the links down in the podcast description below. Plus, go check out royalsreview.com for even more of the great work. But the best thing you can do after this episode is go follow the Royals Deluxe podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. Also, follow Lux on X. He's doing post-game recaps as well. He's doing breakdowns. He's doing a lot of really good work. And y'all are missing out if you're not following along with it. So, Lux, again, thank you for joining us tonight.
And you're also missing out if you're not reading up on the stuff getting posted to Farm to Fountains, because I write there occasionally, but a lot of much smarter people also do that, so I recommend reading their stuff too.
Thank you. I completely forgot to plug them.
No problem.
But right now, Honey is going to get us on out of here so we can watch the game.
do it.
Okay?
All right.
All right, Honey, floor is yours.
And until next time, go